Welcome back to the Royals Show. Today we'll be talking about Meghan Markle facing what has been described as an exceedingly difficult choice, as her husband, Prince Harry, seems to be moving closer to burying the hatchet with his father, King Charles. This possible step toward reconciliation is stirring up huge discussions, not only within royal circles but also across the global media. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more updates on this fascinating story. The speculation began when news broke that Prince Harry would soon return to the United Kingdom. His visit is set for September 8th, when he will attend the 2025 WellChild Awards, an event very close to his heart. This marks his first trip back since his legal setback earlier this year regarding his security arrangements in Britain. Although such awards usually pass with little outside attention, this one has taken on an entirely different significance. Why? Because this time there are whispers that Harry may use the trip to begin mending his fractured relationship with the king. But here lies the real point of tension. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, will not be accompanying her husband on this visit. For many observers, this absence speaks volumes. Insiders say her last trip to Britain, in 2022 for the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, was deeply difficult. It forced her to be away from her young children, Archie and Lilibet, for 3 weeks. Those close to Meghan suggest that the emotional toll of that journey left her not well, making her reluctant to repeat the experience. So while Harry makes the journey alone, Meghan faces an unenviable dilemma. If Harry truly begins to reconcile with his family, especially with King Charles, where does that leave her? Does she stand beside him and risk being drawn back into an environment where she has long felt unwelcome? Or does she remain firmly in California, focusing on her children and her new ventures, but at the cost of potentially being seen as distant or even obstructive in Harry's efforts to repair royal bonds? This is the exceedingly difficult choice that commentators are referring to. And it's a choice layered with history, emotion, and politics. To understand why this decision weighs so heavily, we need to step back and revisit the journey that brought Harry and Meghan to this point. When the couple stepped away from royal duties in early 2020, they did so under the banner of seeking independence. Their move to North America symbolized a dramatic break with royal tradition. At first, it seemed like a fairy tale escape, two people carving out their own lives, free from the relentless demands of the monarchy. But soon after, the interviews, documentaries, and memoirs began to pile up. Each one painted a picture of pain, misunderstandings, and at times, outright hostility from within the royal family. Harry's memoir, Spare, only deepened the divisions. In it, he described his strained relationship with his father and brother in raw, emotional terms. For the King and the Prince of Wales, these revelations were seen as wounds exposed in public, and for many months afterward, any possibility of reconciliation seemed remote. Yet time, as always, begins to shift the narrative. King Charles, now advancing in years, is balancing his duties with health concerns and the pressures of his reign. Harry, too, appears to be reflecting on the legacy he will leave for his children. For Archie and Lilibet to grow up completely separated from their royal roots seems to be weighing on him more than before. Thus, a window for rapprochement appears to be opening. But for Meghan, the situation is far less straightforward. She has faced a torrent of criticism from sections of the British press and public ever since her marriage into the royal family. Every gesture, every outfit, Every word has been scrutinized, often unfairly. For her, returning to Britain is not just a matter of geography. It is a return to a stage where she has often felt attacked and isolated. Supporters of Meghan argue that she is simply protecting her peace and her children's well-being. Why subject herself to the same cycle of criticism and hostility? Why put herself once again in the position of being blamed for tensions within the royal family? From her perspective, staying in California, focusing on her life as a mother, and building her own projects might appear to be the healthiest choice. But critics take a different view. They argue that if Harry is seen to be reaching out and attempting to reconcile, Meghan's absence could be interpreted as a sign of division. They say it could reinforce the perception that she is unwilling to support her husband's ties to his family, which could, in turn, make the path to healing even harder. This is why the situation is so complex. It's not just about one trip or one award ceremony. It's about identity, belonging, and the legacy of two people who chose to carve out their own path, but now find themselves drawn back, at least partially, toward the institution they left behind. We also cannot ignore the public dimension of this story. In Britain, many will watch Harry's visit closely. Will he meet privately with the king? Will there be photos, however carefully staged, of father and son together again? And in the absence of Meghan, will the press turn its focus toward her decision not to attend, reigniting debates about loyalty, duty, and family unity? Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Meghan's supporters will frame this as an act of self-preservation. They'll say she is avoiding an environment that has consistently treated her unfairly. They'll point out that Meghan has responsibilities at home, and that her children's well-being must come first. The truth, of course, likely lies somewhere in between. Meghan's choice is not one of simple refusal, but of careful calculation. She knows that every move will be analyzed, every silence interpreted, and every appearance dissected. For her, choosing to stay in California may not be an act of resistance, but one of survival. And so the story continues to unfold. Will Harry's trip to Britain in September mark the first step toward healing one of the most public family feuds of modern times? Or will Meghan's absence cast a long shadow over any progress made? Only time will tell. But what we can say for certain is this: Meghan Markle does indeed face an exceedingly difficult choice, one that weighs not just on her marriage, but on the future of the Sussex family itself, and on the history books that will one day record these events. So, as the countdown to September 8th begins, all eyes will be on Prince Harry, King Charles, and, even from across the ocean, Meghan Markle. And that's where we'll leave it for today. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates on the royal family, and we'll see you in the next video.